TYT interviews everyone. This is Jayar Jackson. I'm here and I'm honored to be joined by Pras Michél of the one of the most, in my opinion, best hip hop groups of all time, the Fugees, here to talk about actually a new film. We're not necessarily getting to music necessarily, maybe we will. But first off, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
The name of the film is Sweet Micky for President. So Pras was also a producer. He was a part of this particular candidacy in Haiti. And we're going to get into all the details of that.
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, but Haiti is my lifeblood. My parents could have decided not to come to America. I could have been one of those kids.
There is still plenty of frustration with the government there over the slow progress of rebuilding.
Everyone wants work in the government. They don't.
You need someone who can inspire the people. So I called my friend Michél Martelly. I was like, you know what? You need to run for president of Haiti.
For over 20 years, he's been one of Haiti's favorite musicians, both outrageous and outspoken.
And then from that point, we basically talking every day.
I read on the internet that you used to wear diapers when you were performing.
That's the artist, that's the actor.
Micky, the president, cannot run Haiti.
Are you running to become the next president of Haiti?
Wyclef Jean is running for president.
Pras Michél said you lack a definitive plan to bring Haiti into the 21st century.
Pras was saying that he'd support your opponent, Sweet Micky.
I guess there won't be another Fugee album.
It was a circus. Started to get a sense that the government was paying attention. They didn't like what they saw, so they made their move.
Everyone is on board. Everyone.
The unrest was spreading, and the people were not backing down.
It doesn't matter. We're going to win somehow. The people won't let it go through this time.
Our people are being abused. I would rather take time to make them understand the need to stand up and stand for the truth.
Si vous pouvez reprendre les photos parce qu'il y avait quelque chose sur son costard.
Because I have something to show, man.
Sweet Micky, first of all, his name is Michél Martelly, now the current president of Haiti. I don't know if I'm doing any spoilers here for many people who don't pay attention, but the film basically goes through the entire campaign for Martelly and how you kind of triggered it, honestly. So first I want to start with, at the beginning of the film, we talked about your roots back in Haiti and the reason this even it's triggered you to do something because nothing was being done after the 2010 earthquake. I think it was in January of that year. Can you talk about how, I guess, what it was that you saw? How many times you had to see the devastation and nothing was being done when you said, as I saw in the film, this is some bullshit. So what exactly was it that when you finally said, nobody's doing it, I got to do something?
I remember when it happened the night before, the night that it happened, the world heard about it the day after, that morning. But a friend of mine called me and told me there was an earthquake. And, I thought it was just earthquake. Like, we have earthquakes in California, right. And then the next morning, I did this morning show, like a 6:30 a.m. morning show. They called me, and I don't know why they called me, but I went and I did the show. But they were showing me the footage. And that's when I saw the devastation. But then I saw the former president, that was the president at the time. He made a comment about how he didn't know where he was going to stay. I thought it was a bit odd that the leader of that country doesn't know where he's going to stay. If you're the leader, you don't know where you're going to stay. Imagine how the people is going to feel.
Right.
So I felt like when I started the Fugees, one of the things Clef and I wanted to do is represent Haitians. And, I wanted to 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 represent Haitians. And, I wan But when the Fugee took off, Clef really took the plight of Haiti on his back. And I kind of like just stood aside, you know, because I wasn't born in Haiti. My parents are from Haiti, but Clef was born in Haiti, so I figured, you know, I'm an American, you know, I didn't really want to get involved with it. But after the earthquake, I decided I can't just stand back idly and watch this happen. I felt like I have to go and do something. And at that moment, I didn't know what it was, but I knew I had to do something.
So you went and visited first before well, I guess the idea, in the base of the film being, you approached Michél Martelly again. And for me, I wasn't familiar with his music. He's a musician, a well-known provocative artist in Haiti for a long time. And what was it about, you approached him and basically said he should run? Because there was a recent history of a string of presidents that didn't do much for the people. In fact, it was very self-serving. There's a lot of corruption, which happens everywhere. Right. But it was specifically highlighted. So what was it about him that once you decided something completely different needs to be done, had you target him?
Well, I mean, first, he was a very popular musician in Haiti, extremely popular. He's equivalent to like the Michael Jackson, if you will, of Haiti. And I know, but you know, being popular doesn't mean, people think popularity equates to people having an affinity for you or you being revered. That's not the case. Because there's a lot of people that are popular that people don't like. I can name 10 people right now that's popular here in America that are very popular, but we don't really like them like that, right? But he had some form of a leadership capacity because not only was his music provocative, but some of his music were political. So, you know, he was the guy that I had access to and who I thought maybe he'd make a great candidacy and to eventually become president. In my thought process, it wasn't something that was, you know, it wasn't this comprehensive thought-out plan. It was just what my heart told me at that moment. I just went with it, kind of like nosedive into the situation.
So it wasn't even just like you were saying, a lot of people think, oh, he's popular, oh, he's well-known, oh, he sold all this many albums, that's going to do it.
But let me ask you a question. He's not more popular than Wyclef Jean.
Right. Which
right?
I think was one of the most interesting parts of the whole thing.
Listen, don't get me wrong, the horse got to know how to run. You got to be able to run, right? You can't just go get a three-legged horse and say, I'm going to put it in a race. You got to be realistic about it, right? So yeah, I understood that, obviously. But there was something about him that made me feel this is who I need to tap.
So, I mean, okay, so even when it happened, and as a lot of the people knew in the country, they're kind of tired of this way things always were. But still, at the beginning of it, there was people questioning, like, what's he going to do for me? You know, this guy was just, and maybe these are people who are already going to be opposed, but this guy's just an artist. What does he know about politics? What does he know about governing? What does he know about changing things? And I guess, how did you guys approach dispelling those myths?
Well, you know, when you think of politics, the core definition of politics is basically the struggle for power and the allocation of resources. That's what politics is, right?
Yeah.
We do politics every day. No, we never sign into legislation any bills into laws or anything like that because we're not in the political system to do that. But, you know, every politician who became a politician started off not being a politician to begin with, right? All it is a title. That's all really what it is. Now, obviously, you got to understand diplomacy. You have to understand policies. You have to understand. You have to at least have that capacity to be able to understand. Some people, they'll never understand that, right? So we didn't have that. He didn't have a political resume. I didn't have a political resume. But we were conscientious about politics, and we were interested in politics, and we were interested in the betterment of the people, right? So we had those, you know, things or attribution to us going in. And so Michél, when you watch the film, you'll see, now obviously we don't get deep into, you know, the political side of it. It's just more, this film is about how if one person believes in something, how you can make a difference. It's about voices being heard. We seen this right here across America with the Missouri College last week, where the students walked out, right? That's how they decided to protest, because protest today is not the same way we used to protest back in the 50s and the 60s. If you're gonna walk out with pickets and think you're gonna make some change, you're not gonna make any change. Because everything else, the political forum has evolved, right? The way corporation special interest group, they evolve, right? So that means the way we protest, that has to evolve also. And the way you protest where economically it affects the people that you're trying to get their attention. And so when you look back to Haiti, it's the same thing. Those Haitians protested in a way where those people at the time that were corrupted, they had to listen to them. And that's the same thing happening right here in America. Right here in America, it's the exact same thing happening, both politically, both on a college level, on a consumer level, it's happening.
So I think one of the main levels, since we connect a little bit with the way protests and I guess the political system works here, there's so many interests that are trying to keep that from happening. It was always seen as such an American thing to protest. That's what we've always done. We see pictures of it and we're proud of it. And that's how we even became to be. But it's almost become a negative thing. I guess maybe I'm just giving my opinion right now, but it's become so much because there's so many forces from opinion media folks to corporations. There's so many different ones that are hidden, that are affecting things. We don't even know who is being bought necessarily. How is it that we transfer that kind of passion that happened in Haiti to what we can do here? Because I mean, the kids on Mizzou campus are getting called all kinds of names as if they're un-American for standing up for themselves.
Well, the problem with protesting, to me, modern day protests. Now, listen, obviously Haiti is not as advanced as America, right? Because you got to remember, Michel Martelly is the third Democratic elected president in his 207 years of existence, of his independence, right? He's only the third elected. So Haiti is far behind. But when you bring it back to America, they want you to protest in a physical form, meaning you bring a group of people out. But the problem with that is the media is never going to focus on the positive side of the protest, right? You already know when you get a group of people out together, there's always going to be that one individual, that one bad apple that's going to try to disrupt what's happening. Then the media zoom into that bad apple and make it seem like it's the whole group massive that's doing that. So I think what Mizzou campus, this college, university had taught is teaching us, which I've been saying this for years. What they teaching us is we're going to protest in a different way. We're not going to run outside, make noises, because all that's going to fall on deaf ears. We're supposed to play a game. We're not going to play. But guess what? The university got fined for $1 million. See, to me, when you remember the incident that happened about a year or so ago with the Clippers? With the Donald Sterling thing? To me, what would have been effective, if you really want to make a statement, when that team came out to play during the playoff, and they all riled up together in the middle of the court and they took their jersey, put it in backwards, that's not protest. What they should have done, the whole team should have unified and say, we're not going to play in the playoff. Guess what would have happened? ABC would have had to figure out what they're going to put in that time slot. It would have cost them millions of dollars. Now, guess what? Now they have to listen to these guys. What do you guys want? Well, this is what we want. We need to negotiate. Because that's all special interests and corporation understand.
Right.
And that's how we got to start to get into that zone.
Then how do you change the people that then, as you said, it worked at Mizzou? Because I guess the black football players or the however many football players actually protested and said, we're not going to play. Then how do you get people from being that negative voice, that influence, I think, a large majority of the population to go, look at these guys being un-American somehow when exactly what they're doing is American. I mean, there's different angles. So I know you can't give the answer to change the world right now, but
I mean,
it's society is one of the things.
Look,
that's the problem.
you're always going. That's the great thing about democracy is everyone has a voice, but that's also the bad thing about democracy because you got to listen to the idiot opinion, right? So you got to take the good and the bad. But I think, listen, what the Mizzou did is great because no one got hurt. There was no real disruption, and they got their point across. And then if you notice, a couple of days later, 125 schools walked out. So people start, because all you need is that one example that works. Then everyone's going to sit back and say, the next time I protest, we're going to protest the same way. Right? Because when you look at Ferguson, for example, what came out of it? Not much.
That particular one, no. But no.
That's just one of many.
Right.
But Mizzou got their point across. That school had to pay $1 million. Right? And if they want to continue it, they're not going to be able to sustain that. Now, they may say, we're just going to get other players to come and play. But your best players are the one that protesting.
Because that's the thing. One of the commentators did say, he goes, I'm just going to get some replacements.
Okay, cool.
Nobody wants to see that.
You're going to have an empty stadium.
Ticket sales, beer sales,
Done.
concession sales,
Done.
all of it, and everybody's losing money somewhere. So, I mean, okay, well, we might as well go ahead and connect it to what's happening here anyway. So, but we'll get back to this because there were some points in the movie I really enjoyed. So there's the outsider point of view when we have with our current election system now. The fact that people are so hungry for this different thing that happens as you're talking about, we see the difference and go, this has been affecting me, but I've been too afraid or didn't have the right answer to approach this right. We have these seemingly outsiders that are running for president now, and I'm afraid they're being painted as the people that actually that are appealing to the people, when in reality, they're still appealing to themselves. I mean, maybe some of the comparisons being, there was popular presidents in Haiti that had power, but then they end up not being good for the country at all. And even still had some support when they returned. You know who I'm talking about. So I guess the question is, how is it you get people to decipher from the good and the bad? Because people will take advantage. They can see the same thing you're seeing, but they go, let me use this climate and take over myself.
Well, there's no real formula to who's going to be a good or bad president, right? You can have the guy with all the political experience. Person could be governor, it could be senator, it could have been whatever, right? And on paper, that looks great. Then you can have the guy who is the outsider, who's not really tainted or corrupted by all the constituents that this person over here built in the decades, whatever, right? It doesn't mean one is better than the other. It doesn't mean that guy with all the political experience is actually going to be a great president. It doesn't mean that this guy over here is not going to be a great president. I think we as the voters or the people, we're just taking a chance based on how we feel, based on what the information that's being provided to us, right? But what it boils down to that individual really wanting to make a real difference. And you'll never know that till that person get that opportunity to make that decision, right? So I personally believe you got to, in this day and age, you have to devote your whole life into serving the people. You have to be able to put your ego, your self-interest to the side. I don't know if that means we need a president or we need a leader who have all the political experience, or we need a leader who is concerned about their legacy. Because obviously everyone has an interest, right? But it's a matter of who have the interest that's most fitting to the general population.
I think we've had candidates that do that, and then so we have Obama who came in, right? It was a sweeping thing. It was And I think there was I saw some similarities with the way Martelli was run, right? With there's a change, there's a new wave. It appeals to young folks because that is the future. And once you have activated younger voters, that's more powerful than anyone else, honestly, because that's the future of the country. That's who's going to be taking over. So when you have someone coming and does something like that, I mean, everyone has their opinions of what Obama's been able to do and not. Do you think that has been fulfilled to a certain degree? I mean, this is, I guess, now part of my opinion. There's only so much a president can do, number one. So even when it comes to Martelli, at the end of the film, he mentioned that there was the issues of corruption and then issues of what's happening in the country still. And he said, I'm one president that came in and is doing this. It's not going to change everything in a couple of years for what's happening. So what is it about one man that can try to change a system and a society's way of thinking?
Well, I think you got to first understand the lay of the land, right? So meaning like, when you take America, you know, I like to tell people, this country, this institution is on autopilot. So it doesn't matter if someone comes from the left or someone comes from the right. The country is only going to tilt a little bit to the right or to the left, depending on who's at the helm, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Haiti's different. Haiti still building its foundation. So there's a lot more a leader can do in Haiti than you can do here, right? You can't approach them the same way, okay? Now, if you want to talk about Obama, depending on who you speak to, they have their opinion on his governance. And obviously, look, he still has another year left. It's a lot more, you know, he wants to accomplish. And I do believe that he loves his country, and obviously he really wants to do. I mean, look, but when you sit back and think about it, who doesn't want to be the best president ever, right? I mean, you got to think, these people want to help the people, but now here's the problem. If Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy came back, they have a hard time in this political climate. Yeah. I mean, you got people saying that Ronald Reagan, do you know, if Ronald Reagan ran right now, he would be considered a moderate.
He'd be sitting at 1% of the Republican vote on his side.
As much as these conservatives love to praise him, but if he was to run right now, I don't know if he would poll in the top 5.
Yeah. That's honestly the reason I think for people's legacy is for later in life to be remembered a certain way. And then I think the party's reason for needing a legacy from their president is to use that later for future campaigns, which is exactly, as you're saying, what Republicans do now with Reagan, when in reality they wouldn't have any support for him. So I guess when leaders come in and want to change things, everyone has their agenda, as you're saying. Is Obama on his, or is it just like, I mean, look, the legacy is going to be stuff like the healthcare thing, and I guess changing the climate. So everyone knew that was part of what his change was going to be. So a lot of opponents will say, nothing has changed. Actually, things have gotten worse. So then you have to fight that instead. But when you don't have to go for re-election, I think more things get put across. As you said, there's a year left. And you kind of see a shift, I think, in his attitude.
Well, look, I mean, if we're going to talk about Obama, I mean, listen, obviously, I don't sit down and talk to him every day, but I think that obviously we know what some of his main agendas were. Mm-hmm. Some of them got accomplished, some of them halfway got accomplished, some of them didn't get accomplished at all. Because you got to remember, you know, we are in a democracy, and then, you know, everyone has to agree to. And now, I do believe there's some people who opposes things because politically that's what they think they need to do, right, for whatever the reason is. Mm-hmm. You know, I would say there's probably a majority of people who really want to do something. I'm talking about leaders, elected officials, who really want to do something for the people, for the country. But the minute you start mixing in, once again, corporation, special interests, so now you're playing the chess game a different way, right? Like when you know normally you wouldn't sacrifice that pawn, now you say, I might have to sacrifice this because it's politically motivated, right? It's not strictly about, I mean, when you look at healthcare plan, right? Mm-hmm. This is something that I don't know why it's even political. You're talking about health for people that we all should care about. Mm-hmm. So how can a company or an institution that their whole existence is about their bottom line, and then you want to inject something that's about the people's health, how can you mix the two together and get a good result? It's almost virtually impossible.
And okay, so
you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, maybe I'm the dumb one, but I'm just saying, right?
Because I think we've switched so much to a point of people's perception of what they are, which say healthcare system or even leaders, they want to be shown as being, they care for people. We still push America as we care, we take in everybody. We're the shining light on the hill. We do everything and we lead. But at the same time, we don't actually want to do it. That helps actually other people, or even our citizens, honestly. As you said, we need a leader that's going to be the type that comes in and wants to work for the citizenry. But in reality, when the citizenry needs them, there ends up being a lot of bashing about, look at these people wanting their handouts, when in reality they're citizens who've given to the country, and that's why
I can't really blame. I can't really blame the leader, because you got to remember something. Before Obama, before Bush, before Clinton, before First Bush, before Carter, before Johnson, not Lyndon Johnson, sorry, Nixon, and so forth, before Reagan, before all these guys, they've been dumped whatever came before them, right? So it's like they have all of this they got to deal with, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And what happened is the corporation and the special interest group have just gotten stronger and stronger and stronger, right? So it's kind of like, well, we can't really beat them, so we got to kind of like join them. But at the same time, we also representing the people. It's a hard thing. How do you do?
So exactly, that's why I think it's impossible
You really can't. You really can't. The only way you have to just blow this whole thing up. But how do you do that? You can't.
Well, as you said,
like going back to healthcare. Mind you, I know absolutely nothing about the healthcare except for I know my healthcare plan is very expensive. Okay.
I think everyone has the same opinion.
Right. but I can afford mine.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So my thing is, if healthcare is supposed to help the people's well-being, right? Then why are the insurance companies having a say in it when you know their main objective is economics?
But they're doing the same thing. They're telling people, you see a healthcare commercial, you'll see a commercial about someone's health and seeing their doctor and be like, we care. And there's like gentle music playing.
Of course,
so their perception is still that.
They're not going to say, well, listen, you be honest with me, we don't really care about you guys. We just need y'all to, they're not going to say that. We already know that. But the point I'm saying is, think about when that leader comes in and he really wants to do something for the people. I don't believe healthcare, mind you, I'm not into socialism, so I don't want people to take this, I don't want people to start blasting my Twitter and my Instagram. But I do believe there's certain things that's a right and not a privilege. Healthcare for every American should be a right.
There's components of socialism all through our society. So that we accept, that we're open to, that we're fine with because it makes sense.
You know, you're right. It shouldn't be one way or the other.
Right.
Because some things that have some social implication to it is okay. It doesn't mean we're a socialist
Think about
society.
calling your doctor, not worrying about how much it's going to cost. If your kitchen is on fire and your extinguisher didn't put it out, you can call the fire department and you don't have to go, how much is this going to cost me? You don't have to do that. But if for some reason that wasn't a component of our society, but we have like a system where you have to pay for every time the fire department comes, and then suddenly a leader comes in and says, you know what, the fire department should come for free because you pay your taxes. People are going to go, what? Socialism. You know, so it's just a matter of perception of how things have been pushed to us since we were born to believe.
I'm going to bring it back to you now. What this whole interview is about. You want to circle it back. Basically, we as the people have to unify and say enough is enough. And this is what this movie is about on a very micro level. You know, because the Haitians don't have a system like we have, obviously, and they want to. At some point, I believe they're going to get there. Michél Martelly's Sweet Micky is the beginning of the new for Haiti. It may have not been perfect, may have not been great, but it's the catalyst for a new political system. Now, if you want to go back to America, because they run parallel, because I was born in America, I'm an American, so obviously I'm patriotic to being an American. But at the same time, my parents are from Haiti, so I got that patriotism going there too. So it's like a dual patriotism going on. And I see the parallel, okay? And sometimes what people don't understand, third world countries are kind of like, they're like the you know how like you have a record, let's say you get a record that's buzzing on the streets. It buzzes on the streets before it gets to the pop mainstream audience, right? And when you look at third world countries, being that I've been to Somalia, North Korea, Iraq, Iran, all these different places, what I notice is they are what I call the streets. They buzzing, right? If you remember a couple years ago, you had the Arab Spring. Started off in Tanzania. Then you had Egypt, what happened with Egypt. Then you had, obviously, with Gaddafi, them getting rid of Gaddafi. Right. Then you had a protest in Iran, which is, it never happened since the revolution in 1979, right? Then you had a protest in Hong Kong. You had a protest in China. Then you had what happened in Haiti. We're starting to see Guatemala a couple weeks ago just had a comedian become their first-time president, right?
Yeah.
And Iceland, the mayor is a musician, okay? So, and now what happens is it's starting to come now to America. We're seeing the same thing that's been happening in the last couple of years. In these third world countries, it's starting to happen right here.
I think we just need an acceptance of taking the lead from someone else, if it works. You know,
well, you have to learn. You have to see. You have to say to yourself, why is it happening here? Because when we had that global recession, it didn't just affect us, it affected the whole globe. If we sneeze, the rest of the world catches a flu, okay? So, but at the same time, things also come and creep into, I think we've just been very complacent, to be honest with you. And now, but we're starting to see the difference. Like you talked about the candidates that are vying for this presidency right here in America. You know, they're a little bit, you know, colorful candidates, you know, if you will. But think about it. You see the parallel between them and Sweet Micky. 5 years ago, if I said to you, some guy who used to wear diapers, was very popular, could run for president of any country, you know, don't discount the fact that it's Haiti, can possibly win, you probably say that's impossible, that's crazy. But right here, we're seeing another candidate here who's somewhat colorful. He may not be as colorful as Sweet Micky, but he's a colorful character. We don't need to mention his name, we know who we're talking about. He's #1 in the poll amongst his party.
But the thing that happened, again, during the campaign with Martelli was eventually, not even eventually, happened pretty quick. He had to prove that he's not just this cat who used to do provocative things on stage. But then when someone asked him, or not even asked him, but he noticed what's happening, where you can find things within his country that are promoted, that will get it to a new level, that you can use its resources to get you somewhere. Eventually, this unnamed candidate here has to prove something that he knows what he's doing.
He don't have to prove anything. You know anything he needs to do? I mean, listen. Yeah,
that's our fault.
No. He has to do. Look, he has to prove that he can govern. He has to prove amongst. First of all, he has to convince his base. I mean, they about to go to the voting primaries in January, I think. He has to first get past that. I mean, he's still a long. When you're talking about politically, down to January, it's like an eternity. A lot can happen, right? He can nosedive in a hot second.
Months too.
No. Listen. I believe from the day one, but I'm just saying, a lot can happen. He can nosedive in a second, right? But it's not about him per se. It's about how disenfranchised the people feel. That's the bottom line to it. Because if you talked about 8 years ago in 2008, he wouldn't have lasted 3 days after announcing his candidacy. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Okay, especially with the remarks and his rhetoric, right? This guy's on fire right now.
So what has changed about us, our society, our country, that has allowed this to be so much different now?
I think what changes when you look at the political meltdown at the Beltway. When you look at when people feel like, I send you guys to office, whether you're conservative, whether you're liberal, I send you guys to represent us, to find some form of a bipartisanship, a medium to address our needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, you guys can't figure it out, then we're gonna have to put people in that can. And it may not, it might be that guy. I don't know.
But it's just once you start seeing the rhetoric, as you said, that comes from certain candidates, they start saying, no, you don't need your country to do much for you that you contribute to. I mean, that's become one of the main lines is, how dare you expect something from the country you are contributing to? And so it starts telling their constituents, you don't deserve what you deserve,
but you know
and they buy it.
But we know that's not true. You know how we know that's true?
We do.
Listen, let me tell you something. When people, I believe people just want the basic things for their lives, right? Be able to have a job, roof over their head.
Healthy.
Be healthy, and just enjoy the American life. Watch your football, barbecue, the basic things. I don't believe the average American wants to be a billionaire. They're not looking for that. They just want to contribute and get their little share from this American pie. When you can't get that basic and it become a nationwide thing, then people eventually say enough is enough. That's what gave the birth of the Tea Party. People go to the extreme when they feel like, okay, I'm being disrespected at this point. That's what happened with the whole Boston Tea Party. I mean, think about it. It's the same.
And then there's always an interception. The cornerback comes in when the Tea Party's getting born because it's against how corrupt the government is and how they're not doing anything for the people. Then the interception comes in by these people who are funded by corporations, as we always talk about. Then they come in and co-opt this seemingly a positive triggering of a Tea Party, and it becomes this thing that's biting back against people. So it starts as citizenry, and it ends with fighting citizenry.
I see what you're
because
saying.
of money.
I see what you're saying. You're saying that basically they dismantled the Tea Party. They came up
like immediately, like I'm not even dismantled, just co-opted.
You're right, but guess what? Let me tell you something. When one thing doesn't work, guess what happened? It morphs into something else. It's like a virus. You kill that virus, it gets stronger, right? We look the terrible thing that just happened in France. It started off first, you had the Taliban, you had Al-Qaeda. These guys are smarter and stronger than the last two groups, okay? So that means they are doing something else. They have, and obviously, unfortunately, some of the people that are coming in are ex-trained military guys from different parts of the, different, military groups. But going back to here, yes, the Tea Party got dismantled because they were far, far, far to the right. But there's another movement happening that's a little bit more sophisticated than the Tea Party.
And you need someone that's gonna, like these things morph, but you need someone to morph them or to be that change.
But we're seeing it happen right now. We're seeing it happen. Listen, we have about 3 more months to see what's really gonna happen. Listen, to be honest with you, I already know in my heart who I think is gonna be the next president
I've been saying
of
it
the
for
US.
a while, yes.
Okay? But if that still happens, you still have to worry about those groups that are not satisfied. I'm one of those people who always believe if someone is not satisfied by something, I need to understand why. That doesn't mean I'm gonna agree with you, but I need to at least address that issue. Why is it that you're discontent? Why is that you're not? Why are you being disruptive? I need to understand why. You can't just sit here and say, oh yeah, don't worry about that. They're not the majority. Because they eventually will become the majority.
The longer you keep them out, the more they're going to want
Right.
to build up and do something else
Which
different.
goes back to Sweet Micky. The Haitians were fed up after 25 years and decided we're going to put in this colorful character. Don't make no mistake. It's not like they didn't know who this guy was. For 20 years, he's been Sweet Micky, right? But the message was, the most powerful thing I have is my vote. Now, we take it for granted up here. But in third world countries, that's all they have, right? Because they don't have anything else. They don't have the comfort of going home and watching their favorite team play on Sunday morning. They don't have the comfort of like going to a nice restaurant. They don't have that. All they have is a hope and a vote. Hope that one day this will come to pass, and a vote, I'm going to exercise that to try to find someone that can do that. So when all the Haitians got together and said, we're going to vote for this guy, it wasn't so much about we believe, yeah, they would have hoped that he would have done something, but it's more sending a message, our vote is going to be recognized, and we sending out a message to your status quo. Don't play with us. Because the majority in this democracy we're in now will always win. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and it was illustrated very openly in the film again when the first round was actually corrupted and kind of taken, and international attention was made. As you said, once the right people or once the right attention hits the right people, that's when the change has to happen.
Right.
So that's what happened in the film also. If you look up anything, you know who the president is now of Haiti. So the spoiler didn't need to be there. But he won with 67% of the vote. The film was awesome. I loved it.
It's not really a spoiler because think about it. You still want to know. I think people still need to go see the movie because it's about hope. It's about how one person can make a difference. But also you want to know what was the process. That's like me saying I know what happened with the Titanic, but I still want to see the movie. You know what I'm saying? I don't see the movie. I know what happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and side note also, it got into, everyone here at least knew, as much as we don't pay attention to anything else, with Wyclef's involvement in the election, and obviously that's when a lot of people's ears perked up when it was going on, like,
right.
Wyclef, Pras.
Running for president, right.
Wyclef, Pras, and it sort of turned into, we again started to make a comical look at what was reality and how all that actually came together, which I think was one of the best parts of the film. Right. I enjoyed it. It was good stuff. And also, one question about Wyclef. Yeah. Did you, when it was a surprise that he got in, because you guys had started before he jumped in. If it wasn't for your involvement with Micky's candidacy, do you think it was a parallel direction that Wyclef was looking to take?
You mean for him to be president?
Yeah.
Of course.
Was it kind of the same thing anyway before he even joined up? And
I think Clef definitely wanted to be president, and rightfully so. It's a free country, just like this country is. And the same way Kanye West, in 20, what is it, 20?
He's thinking 2020.
2020, he's thinking about, his candidacy. By the way, Kanye, you want to see me, man? You're going to really make that run, come see me. But anyway, so, I think Clef wanted that. And maybe he could have possibly gotten it. I don't know. I didn't believe he was going to win, but who knows? Maybe if Michél didn't threw his hat in the ring, maybe they would have went with Clef.
Right.
But I think the power that be when he got what they call kind of like disqualified. The reason was he wasn't a real or full resident of the country. Right. You have to be there for a period of time to be a resident to be able to
and
vote.
So especially when establishing one of the things a certain way, they found how.
So even if Michél wasn't running, so I think what the government did. For you people when you go see the movie, basically there was two musicians. It was Wyclef Jean and Sweet Micky, Michél Martelly. the government got rid of Wyclef because they thought Wyclef was the bigger threat.
Exactly.
If they thought Michél was the bigger threat, they would have got rid of Michél. Now, the thing is, they couldn't get rid of both of them because then the country would have went crazy.
Right.
They were two very popular musicians down in Haiti. So they got rid of Wyclef. So, you know, I think Clef might make a run maybe a couple years more down the line. And that's his choice. And maybe he's going to learn from where he went wrong. And then maybe he become president. Maybe he's the guy who comes and really do something for the country. I don't know, you know.
I enjoyed it. Pras, Michél. Thanks for coming through.
Yes, sir.
Future campaign manager for everything American campaigns, Haitian campaigns. He's going to run things. The campaign that came in, at least the professional corporation that came in and helped run, did you take some notes and be like, listen, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start my own consulting corporation business?
No, I'm not.
Do it over here, straight out of Brooklyn?
No.
Let me know, because, you know, once you start the campaign with Kanye, we're on board.
We'll see.
He's going to reach out. Reach out. Thanks again. Okay, TYT interviews everyone. Jayar Jackson, Pras.
Thank you.
It's been excellent. Let's do it again.